How y'all doing?
Good.
Good, good, good. Open for questions?
All right, Madam Mayor, according to police, the person shot and killed by police yesterday, arrested 3 times, 1 drug charge, 2 gun charges. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it shows a dysfunction, I believe, in our criminal justice system. People who have those many gun charges probably should not be on our streets. We've got a crime problem in our city, and we've got a lot of work to do. As many of you know, just last week I intended to meet with about 20 people that turned out to be 95 people because somebody told somebody else, and then somebody told somebody else. But more importantly, it was focused on what we need to do about the crime problem in our city. And while I know gun violence is a major problem in our city, I also know that police can't solve this problem by themselves. And so a group of us came together to talk about solutions. How do we get the community engaged? And more importantly, how do we make our streets safer? And while I got some suggestions, some of them are long range. I'm going to bring those folks back together again. And some of them are immediate. Part of it is that we have some resources in our city that people don't know about. And we've got to figure out how do we disseminate it in such a way and be more inclusive so that everybody understands what we are doing. And then at the same time, how do we make sure, like the police commissioner said to me, I would like a group of folks who want to walk with the police, but what kind of training takes place in that process? So all of those discussions are still yet to be had.
With the police also say there was body camera footage on the officer who
Yes.
shot the person. Have you seen that?
I have not seen it as of yet. I would like to see it.
Along the lines on the crime issue, we're over 40 homicides
Yes.
this year. New York City has 20.
Wow.
That's a city of 8 million people. I know you went out and met with Michael Bloomberg, talked about crime. What are they doing right there that we can implement?
Actually, we're meeting with Bloomberg's folks, I think in the next week or so. And we did talk about criminal activity that's occurring in our city. And we certainly are open to expertise and to some suggestions. We also, at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, met with some of their experts in the criminal justice field, and they're willing to offer us some assistance as well. We were just deemed the Bloomberg City, so we do have access to that. Again, part of the meeting, which included the police commissioner, and I had a conversation yesterday with the FOP to be included in our next meeting, is, this strategy that we probably have in place is not working to the extent that we need it to. Whether that is not enough police officers on our streets, but when I think about some of the criminal activity, as you well know, when you think about the young lady who was killed, that was, we don't know how or why, but we know that that was inside of somebody's domain. So how do you stop that kind of crime from occurring? It was really interesting yesterday. I think some of you were there. I was addressing a 3rd grade class, and someone asked me, what are you doing about the crime? How do you make us feel safe? And that's really pulls at your heartstrings, because you know that when 3rd graders are thinking about it, then kindergartners are thinking about it. Families are thinking about it. Mothers are wondering, are their children safe when they walk to school? And when somebody is, as I continue to say, feels pretty free to shoot a gun in the middle of the day, and this is not random shooting, this is execution style, shooting somebody in the head, we know we got a major problem. So I'm looking forward to the conversations with Bloomberg. I'm also looking forward to the conversations with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. They're experts who are willing to help us. Some of the folks who are engaged at the U.S. Conference of Mayors are former police chiefs from around the nation, so that I think will be helpful to us. I also encourage our police commissioner. He was in Washington, D.C. last week meeting with some folks around criminal justice strategies. So I know he's looking for other means and measures by which we get a handle on this. This is serious business, and we've just got to get to the bottom of it.
On the subject of minimum wage, the bill that's been introduced and supported by City Council, yeah, I know, big transition away from crime. But
Boy, that was a big leap.
As a small business owner yourself, what are your thoughts on the potential increase in minimum wage?
Well, let me just say what I said to the council. Please, don't do this in haste. Look at your surrounding jurisdictions. understand what they're doing, even talk with your colleagues. I even suggested that every council person should have a colleague outside of their jurisdiction that they can have a conversation with. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you not doing this? You know, sit and have a conversation, because sometimes the unintended consequences can be greater than the outcome itself. You know, you might be pushing for a greater good, but yet the outcome may not be as great. When you think about, and I asked them to consider this, 76,000 people who are unemployed in our city, some folks who've not worked, and somebody's going to jump up and give you a $15 an hour wage. I don't think so. I asked them to even consider training dollars for people. And then young folks, I know that it does not impact 21 years of age and under, but 3,000 people are sleeping on the streets of our city, 500 people that we know at least belong in the city. What are we going to do about those folks? So I would hope that they would take in consideration all of these things and don't move hastily. And even if they were looking at moving to a $15 an hour wage, look around, ask the other jurisdictions, when are they prepared to make that leap? Baltimore does not need to be the hole in the donut. It just doesn't. I mean, we are the poorest jurisdiction of all. We've got the greatest unemployment. And I think about the corridors of our streets that are still unfilled, that businesses could be created and expanded. Baltimore Street is a perfect example. If you go on the west side, just empty storefront after empty storefront. And we want to get people working. We're trying to lure new companies here. We've got folks who are not trained for the 21st century jobs. I mean, all of these things need to be taken in consideration. So I'm really hoping that they take their time, and that even if they're moving, that they move slowly, and they move with knowledge of what's happening around them. That is so important. It's important to this city. And you see how people want to help Baltimore. I'm not so sure that this is the best way to be helpful. And so I've asked them, please, take your time.
When you look at Baltimore's economy, we lost jobs consistently for 20 or 30 years, over 100,000
right.
jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And now the economy's finally
starting to turn around.
12,000 new jobs in
Absolutely.
the past few years. Mm-hmm. And then the survey of businesses that the BDC did said 300 some businesses would leave if this bill passes. Are you worried that this could impact the momentum that the city has?
I'm absolutely worried about it. And again, in city council meeting yesterday, I said, you know, I'm concerned. I'm very much concerned. You know, I know that there are those out there pushing. I know people ran on certain platforms. And I tell folks, you know, look, I've been pulled up about things that I said when I was campaigning. There's some things that you know that I said that I'm absolutely committed to. You know, I'm absolutely committed to reducing crime. I'm absolutely committed to diversity and inclusion in the city. I'm absolutely committed to making sure that we spread our resources across the city. But all of this requires us to think about what we say and think about what we do and remember who we represent. All of the people in the city, the unemployed, the business people, and everybody in between is represented by what we do. And so I'm hoping that they take all of those things into careful consideration. Think about the people who are on public assistance. You know, to get to $15 an hour may not even help them. It may hurt them. And so all of these things, I'm just hoping, again, that's why, you know, I'm grateful as a new mayor of being able to talk to other mayors around the country about what they're doing. And I'm hoping that our council people, especially, you know, some of our newer council people and even some of our older council people, talk to other council people around the country. What makes a city vibrant? I am a person of research, as you well know, who looks at what other cities are doing. You know, Seattle, Washington has an average income of $70,000 you know, but yet they march slower towards that. But at the same time, now you see homelessness, you know, increasing. Seattle, Portland, because people can't afford to pay these kinds of wages. So we've got to be very careful. What would I do as a small business? Close my store another day. Just can't afford it.
Madam Mayor, going back to crime, what role do you think the police surveillance flights could play in reducing crime in the city?
Well, I think all of this requires a real complete look at what we're doing. I think surveillance cameras, as you well know, it doesn't push up on you and you know exactly who that individual is. but it can give you some descriptions of cars and those kinds of things. And so I think it's important. I'm glad that it's now publicly announced so that people know that this is occurring. Other cities are using it and have found some great results because of it. New York City is one of those cities that, really, I think, can teach us a lot of lessons about how we fight crime in a city of our size.
What's the status of the program now that as police have told you?
Let me see. What have they told me thus far on the surveillance cameras? Let me just make sure. I don't have that. What they've told me is that they have announced it to the public, that we know that it does work. I don't know that it's not funded going forward yet. It's not funded going forward. We know that they used it to see how it does work, and it was helpful. So right now, there's no funding for it. We know it's a useful tool, but when we sit down with Bloomberg, that's certainly one of the things that we will talk about, how useful a tool it has been for the city. And again, I think that when you do these kinds of things, that you make sure that the public understands the usage of it, that this is not to invade anybody's privacy. We've got a crime problem and we need to solve it.
On another topic, the school's budget. We know.
I'm sorry.
130 million. Well, this is a specific question for you because your budget's going to come out pretty soon.
Yes.
And there's a huge deficit with the schools. We know 45 million less coming from the state. Is the city going to increase its share?
Well, let me be real clear, because I think, and I said this to the governor, we give a lot towards education that's not even counted in our budget. And this is what I've said, we're going through this budget process. Every time I ask folks for a solution, we're looking outside as opposed to inside. Send the money here, send the money there, send the money over here. We send $10 million to the Family League for youth and after school programs. That doesn't get counted in our contribution to the city, to the Baltimore City Public Schools. And so we're not doing a good job of counting what we give currently. Are we out now trying to make sure that we close this budget gap? Absolutely, yes. And in fact, when I'm talking to the philanthropic community and the business community, what I said to them is, because this formula, in my opinion, will take a couple of years to fix, please, as you think about assisting us, think about assisting us over the next 2 or 3 years, because this is not a one-year fix.
Madam Mayor, just going back to
All right, y'all smiling, so I'm getting ready to get out of here. No, I'm here, I'm okay.
When it comes to personal protection in the city, people being able to carry tasers in the city, there's currently a ban on people carrying tasers in the city. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow. Tasers? Everybody with tasers? I have to take a look at that. Does any other city do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know of that either. I mean, we're not trying to create war and fights in the street. That's not what we want. What we want to do is curb criminal behavior. What we want to do is get to our young people at an early age. What we want to do is create a city of safety. We should not be walking down the street in fear. And I believe that lighting the city will be helpful in that respect. I also believe if we engage our young people in activities, and that's why one of the things I'm doing is inventorying all of the programs that exist in the city, and so that when I meet with this group again, I'll be able to say, well, here's where the void is. Over in Southeast Baltimore or East Baltimore, they've got 5 rec centers but no after-school program. Over in West Baltimore, they got 2 after-school programs and nothing's happening over the library where they need some mentors, and the field down there needs to be level. I want to be able to say, and so here's where I need you to plug in. Can we, for example, talking with our spiritual community, say to them, are you all running summer leagues? Who's the fastest person in Baltimore? Can y'all run a summer track team or whatever? So I want to engage everybody. And what will that take? What are the costs? How can we push resources in that particular area? I just want to begin to engage our community in a more positive way. I don't want us to become a violent city in any way. I don't think people should have tasers. And look, if it was up to me, nobody would have a gun or a knife or any of those things, because put in the wrong hands or even used accidentally, somebody gets hurt. And I don't want to see that, not in this city.
I think the reason you asked that is because there's a legal challenge going on right now.
I was reading that. I was reading, yeah.
On another topic, sorry to jump around all of you so much, but have you had any update on what's happening with State Center?
No.
No.
I've had a conversation with the governor.
Okay.
And I said that we want the 3,000 people that are working in State Center to be working in Baltimore. I want a building that says State Center in Baltimore. We know that the state occupies a number of buildings in our city. As you well know, transportation, the Attorney General's office is right down the street. But we need those 3,000 employees to be in the city. We've got some great buildings in downtown Baltimore, and we've got some great opportunities to build some other buildings as well. But I want a state center in Baltimore. And so that was a conversation I had with the governor. He's willing to continue that discussion. You know that there's a current lawsuit going on, and I hope that we come to some agreement quickly so that we can move forward. I'm ready.
Mayor, we got some numbers from Anthony recently about the amount of money the city's paid to the private attorneys helping the city out with the consent decree with the Department of Justice, $2.3 million.
Wow.
So far.
Are we all in the wrong business? I'm serious. What the heck? We all in the wrong business.
I mean, has that been a good use of taxpayer dollars? Is this something the city can continue to
Well, here's what we know. I'm in office less than a few days, and everybody wanted the consent decree to be signed. There's no way in the world I was going to stop the team that was in place, that was put in place before I got here, in order to facilitate what needed to be done. So do I think it was a good use of, remember now, the average consent decree takes 13 months to 14 months. So if anything, I think that we end up saving the city some money because we did it very quickly. And not quickly in a haphazard way, but just because we spent more. Maybe we didn't save. I'm thinking about the long hours we put in. Did they get paid hourly? No, I'm not sure. I think that we ultimately saved the city some money because we spent a lot of time getting this done, and we're looking forward to the judge signing the consent decree.
I mean, is this something like with contract with the private attorney that the city will continue to have or continue to use?
Well, let's just say under the Pugh administration, we would certainly reevaluate that. All righty, I'm gonna dance on out of here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.